Welcome back to the Science Flipping Podcast. I am your host, Justin Colby. If you are listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, you've heard this before, I encourage you to get to youtube.com/Justin Colby. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as I go live 6 times a week right there on YouTube, including these wonderful, awesome, and highly educational podcast episodes here on the Science of Flipping. This podcast is all about real estate investing and to make you the best real estate and the most profitable real estate investor you possibly can be. So let's dive into something that I'm extremely passionate about right now, which is buying rentals and using the BRRRR method. Now, for those that may have never heard of the BRRRR method, it stands for buy it, rehab it, rent it, refinance, right? And then you repeat if you want to add the other R there. And so I love this method, and the big reason why I love this method because it allows me to be very flexible with capital. I also can create value in a property that you might not see some value in. And so this is an incredible model, and essentially here's the rules of the model that I play by. First, I want to be all in. Every dollar in from the acquisition and the remodel, I want there to be at most 75% of ARV. So if ARV is $200,000, I want to be all in at $150,000. That's every dollar in for purchase and remodel. Okay, 75% of our ARV. Then what I would ideally like is to have a 1% rent ratio. So if I'm all in for $150,000, I would like that to rent for roughly $1,500. Now, yes, there's 12 months in a year, so if you do the math, really 1% rent ratio would be something like $1,300 or $1,350 to be exact, not necessarily $1,500. So there is some wiggle room there to be able to have the 1% rent ratio. Now, I am actually looking at buying several properties this week. One of them is in Oklahoma City, where I'm currently buying rentals anyways, and the buy price isn't great, okay? So I would tell you, this is where you really need to look at the math of it all. The buy price isn't great. Let's say I buy it somewhere around 120, 125, probably closer to 125. I know I'm gonna need to be putting 25,000 into it. So I'm gonna be into this thing for 150,000. The rents look like they're about $1,300 a month, which stays within that 1% rent ratio for me. It's in a good area. It's not the sexiest, craziest, awesome, but it's a steady 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, which for me makes a whole lot of sense. Now, here's the reason why the buy price I would like it to be a little bit lower is because the value, the ARV, if I remodeled it totally, would be about $200. I'm not doing a full-blown remodel. I'm putting carpet and paint on. And so essentially, I think the ARV is closer to 190, maybe even 185. And if I do my very quick math on that, I'm not going to be able to hit my goal here. So if it's 185 times 0.75, I would need to be all in at 138. So if I'm all in at 150, that means I'm going to end up leaving roughly $12,000 in this property. And the reason why I like 75% is because the bank will refi my money out. Remember, buy it, remodel it, refi. Or you could rent it and then refi, one way or another. I usually rent it and then refi because I get a higher value out of it. So I actually would have to leave $12,000 into that property, which is not the end of the world, but I like to try to get almost as much money out as I possibly can, okay? So that's just one property I'm looking to buy in Oklahoma City. I also have 2 other properties that I'm looking in Birmingham, Alabama. Now these are different because one is a duplex and one is a triplex. Now here is why this is so different than just one single family is because I'm actually likely gonna overpay for these, right? But that's okay based around the rents that they bring in. I'm not looking as much for the extra value or equity I would be creating. I'm actually looking at how strong the rents are, right? That's really what I'm doing here because I'm not going to necessarily be flipping these. I need to have a strong rent ratio, and quite literally these 2 properties, one is a duplex, one is a triplex. my rent ratio is almost 2%. And that's really, really strong. While I might be overpaying and I might not be at that 75% of ARV because it's a duplex and because it's a triplex, I'm actually gonna be a lot closer to like 85, 90% of ARV. But even at that number, why it makes sense for me is because my rent percentage, roughly almost 2, right? Call it 1.75 rent to all-in cost. So again, if I'm all in for 175, I'm making almost $4,000 a month on the duplex, right? And so something like that for me, while I may be overpaying in terms of ARV in my initial model, I really like this because of the strength of the rent. And when the banks see strength of rent and consistency in rent, they will refi me very aggressively. And quite honestly, I can leverage that with other rental properties, and they might even be able to give me a line of credit against it, right? Because of the strength of the rent is so good. The same is with the triplex. It's not quite almost a 2x. I'm at like almost a 1.5 on rents to all-in money, right? So if I'm all in on the triplex for roughly $250,000, I'm monthly getting 1.5x on, or 1.5% for the rents. And that's a really strong cap, right? Like for rent, again, I'm basically paying market value. I'm not getting a discount. I'm not concerned about that right now. And I'll leave my money in those deals because the rents are so good. And so I think everyone should be looking at doing the BRRRR model immediately. I don't care if you're just starting. I don't care if you're an experienced investor. The biggest mistake I've made in my career is not buying rentals sooner. Even if I was buying one a year, I'd have 14 rentals right now. And by the next year or the year after, one of those would be paid off in full. I just made that big mistake, and I encourage you to start doing this. So this is one of my favorite subjects right now. You're gonna hear me talk a lot more about buying more rentals and how to buy rentals. But hopefully that helped you guys understand how I'm buying rentals, how I'm analyzing properties, why I would make those decisions, and the fact that I'm even willing to pay market value on something like a triplex just goes to show there's great opportunity out there as long as you're looking at the right fundamentals. All right, so hopefully you guys like this one. If you did, make sure you're giving me a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify. And if you are not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, get over there. 6 videos a week. I just over deliver. Go to youtube.com/Justin Colby. 3 will be specific to real estate just for you. Get over there, subscribe. Make sure you're liking every single video because YouTube really likes that. And I look forward to giving you guys some more great info this week on further podcasts. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.